Hi everybody, welcome to this new episode of the Gen AI Nerd channel. And in this video I want to talk about storytelling for pitching. So when you develop a startup, when you have a business model, pitching your business model is one of the most important aspects. And so in this video I want to first of all talk about kind of the three most common mistakes that I see as an entrepreneurship professor when my students pitch their business models. And subsequently I will show you actually a tool that can help you to prepare your storytelling leveraging generative AI. So let's start with discussing kind of what I would say are the three common mistakes when people pitch a business model. And the first important mistake is that typically people have the tendency to provide a lot of rational facts related to the problem that they want to solve. So they will tell like, oh, 120 million people are suffering from this according to Statista. There is 3 billion of turnover realized every year in real estate. And that might sound very fancy and intellectual, but in the end, I will have kind of forgotten about all these numbers that you give to me one slide further. Yeah? So you really need to avoid that you start presenting as a kind of consultant, overwhelming your audience with numbers. Instead, what you need to do is to come up with a story that actually triggers an emotional response, an emotional reaction from your audience. Because then these people will remember the story and they will remember you. So I think that's the very first very important aspect. You need to engage in storytelling instead of bombarding your audience with all kinds of numbers and rational facts. The second issue is if you do storytelling, you need to try to make it as personal as possible. So often what I see in pitches is that people have created a kind of abstract persona like, oh, this is Lisa. Lisa is 25 years old and lives in Berlin. And then they use that kind of abstract persona to explain their pain point. But the problem is I don't have any connection with Lisa. This is simply an abstract figure. I don't know about Lisa, what is her history, what is her background. And that way it's very difficult to connect to this person. So what I always recommend is to make the storytelling as personal as possible. And optimally, it's a story that the storyteller has experienced. Yeah? So try to think about how can I kind of organize my pitch in such a way that the story is really about me, so that people can connect the story to the person that is actually telling the story. Finally, the third common mistake that I see when people pitch their business model is that they provide a lot of information about the feasibility of their business model. And they talk about kind of the technicalities. But to be honest, of course, these things are important, but in a pitch, they tend to be quite boring and people will often then become distracted. What you actually need to do is to focus on the desirability of your business model. So what is your value proposition? What is exactly the problem that it will solve and how will it solve it? Yeah, so don't focus too much on feasibility, technical details. Try to spend a lot of time on the desirability of your business model. So these are for me the three kind of most important mistakes that I often see when people pitch a business model. Now, of course, the question is, how can we help you to kind of avoid these mistakes and really engage in personal storytelling that focuses on the desirability of your value proposition? And let me show you an application that I have built using generative AI that can actually help you to take a first step in building a good storytelling pitch. So let me show you now the application that I've built called the Startup Storyteller. And so this is an application that gives you a kind of first draft of a storyline that you can use for your pitch if you need to pitch a business model. So you need to go, of course, to the web application. So this is a Streamlit web application. You will find the link in the description of this video. And then the first thing you will need to do is to enter a CROC API key. And this is a kind of password that we need in order to be able to talk with the large language models in the backend. Now I have a separate video on how to get a Croc API key, so I will put that in the descriptions if you need it. But so here I simply copy pasted my API key, which is fully for free. You just need to have one of these keys. Then you can enter the pain points. That is the pain point of your pitch. So here I use as an example, people struggle to monitor their energy bill. So that's the pain point we want to solve. I actually then describe the persona that is experiencing the pain point. And again, the best thing is to make it as personal as possible. So also here, I've just given a kind of personal description of myself. I'm a professor who is living in a rented house in a small village, and I have limited possibilities to use renewable energy. And my landlord is not willing to invest in it, which is very frustrating, which is actually the reality here. And then I have given kind of the value proposition that I want to pitch. And again, I've prepared this up front. So it's about empowering families to take control of their energy costs. And then I give quite an extensive description of my value proposition here. And of course, the more information you provide, the better it will be able to tailor the story. So here my description of the pain point was still quite limited. It would even be better to give more information about the persona, but just now to demonstrate it, I think this is sufficient information that I can show you what it can do. So now we simply have to press submit, and then the application starts running, and now it's ready. And so what does it now generate? So it will give me a kind of personal storytelling on the pain points. So here, based on the information that I have provided, it will give me a kind of script that allows me to use my personal situation to illustrate the pain point that I want to illustrate. And hopefully that this can give you quite some inspiration on how to do storytelling on your pain point, going away from this kind of consulting presentation and really go to personal storytelling. Moreover, it will also provide you a kind of small elevator pitch, so a traditional structure for a 2-minute elevator pitch that you can then further develop. So I hope this can be helpful to really start pushing yourself to do personal storytelling on your startup. If you're interested in this kind of topics on my channel, I have a lot of additional applications for venture building and business model building. So please check out my channel. If you like it, please subscribe, add some comments how you have used it. That would be very valuable. And I wish you good luck with building your next startup. Thank you for your attention.